Hello, and welcome to another thrilling episode of True Crime Stories. Today we are going to delve into the world of beer and kidnapping. Yes, you heard that right. We are talking about the attempted kidnapping of none other than Freddie Heineken, the heir of the famous beer empire. To understand the gravity of this story, we first need to take a look at the history of the Heineken Empire. The company was founded by Gerard Adriaan Heineken in 1864 in Amsterdam. It wasn't until the 1980s that the company became a global sensation. Freddie Heineken, who was the grandson of the founder, was the chairman of the company. He was a well-known figure in the business world, and his net worth was estimated to be around $3 billion. Now, let's get to the story. In November 1983, Freddie Heineken was kidnapped in Amsterdam. The kidnappers were Cor van Hout, Willem Holleder, Franz Meyer, Jan Boellard, and Martin Urkamps. They were all in their 20s and they had planned the kidnapping for months. Their motive was to demand a ransom of 35 million Dutch guilders, which was equivalent to $15 million at that time. The plan was simple. They would abduct Heineken and his driver, Abdaderer, while they were on their way to Heineken's home. They would hold them captive until the ransom was paid. The kidnappers had done their homework. They had rented a warehouse where they would keep their hostages. They had also made a list of demands, which included a guarantee of safe passage out of the country. On November 9, 1983, Heineken and Daderer were on their way home when they were ambushed by the kidnappers. Heineken was forced into a car, while Daderer was left behind. The kidnappers drove Heineken to the warehouse, where they kept him captive. The kidnapping made headlines all over the world. The police started an investigation, but they had no leads. The kidnappers had left no fingerprints, and they had used false license plates on their cars. It seemed like the perfect crime. The kidnappers contacted the Heineken family and demanded the ransom. The family was in a difficult position. On one hand, they wanted to save Freddie's life. On the other hand, they didn't want to set a precedent for future kidnappings. The negotiations were tense, and it took several weeks before an agreement was reached. The family agreed to pay the ransom, but only if Freddie was released unharmed. The kidnappers had received the ransom, but they made a mistake. They had used a car with a false license plate to collect the money. The police had been tracking the car, and they were able to trace it back to the warehouse where Heineken was being held. On November 30th, 1983, the police raided the warehouse and arrested the kidnappers. Heineken and Daderer were found alive, but they had been held captive for 3 weeks. The kidnappers were all convicted and sentenced to long prison terms. The Heineken kidnapping was a bold and audacious attempt to steal a fortune. It was a crime that shocked the world and left many wondering how anyone could be so brazen. The Heineken family had to deal with the trauma of the kidnapping, but they were relieved that Freddie had been returned safely. The incident had far-reaching consequences. It changed the way companies viewed their security measures, especially for high-profile individuals. The Heineken company itself took steps to improve its security, and Freddie Heineken stepped down as chairman soon after the incident. The kidnappers, on the other hand, became notorious figures. They were all eventually released from prison, and some of them even became media personalities. Willem Holleder, in particular, became a well-known criminal in the Netherlands, and he was eventually convicted of several other crimes. The attempted kidnapping of Freddie Heineken was a true crime story that captured the world's attention. It was a daring crime that showed how far some people would go for money. The Heineken kidnapping changed the way we view security measures for high-profile individuals, and it highlighted the importance of having a well-trained and equipped police force. Even though the kidnappers were eventually caught and convicted, the incident left a lasting impact on everyone involved. The Heineken family had to deal with the trauma of the kidnapping, and the kidnappers had to live with the consequences of their actions. Overall, the Heineken Kidnapping is a reminder of the fragility of life and the lengths that some people will go to for money. It is a story that will continue to fascinate and intrigue people for years to come. Thank you for watching this episode of True Crime Stories, and we hope you enjoyed learning about the attempted kidnapping of Freddie Heineken.